And we're live. All right, folks, my name is Otis James. I'm a full-time real estate investor out of the San Francisco Bay Area. I am a long-term hold investor. I'm an entrepreneur. Spent the better part of 20 years in the multifamily commercial industry. I ran mortgage brokerages, real estate brokerages. I had a national notary signing agent company over 2 decades ago. I took $585 one day and went on to create a company that generated 7 figures in the short time that I had it. I'm the founder of 4 Data Points Academy. That is the only real estate investing training platform that does not have an end date. I consult on multiple projects. I'm licensed in insurance. Did I say I was a licensed real estate broker in a couple of states? I think I did. So it's been all things real estate for really my life. I've been exposed to it ever since I was a very young child. I was 3 years old going to real estate meetings with my dad. By 10, I could have a real estate conversation with the average adult. But today, we're going to talk about the entrepreneurship aspect of what it is that I do. And I'll apply it to real estate, but I'm going to go over the principles, the 8 core principles that you need. What's up, Kenesha? You got 2 phones, Kenesha? We're going to go over the principles that all entrepreneurs need to be aware of and focus on when they are either starting or scaling their business. Now, I'm going to start by saying, look, do what you can where you are with what you have. But I'm going to take these 8 principles and I'm going to apply them to real estate. So if you guys hear me pause, it's because one of my students probably has an issue that I have to, answer a text or something like that. So please extend some grace because they come first. All right. So you guys have my contact information. It's meetotis.com. Meetotis.com, meetodis.com. If you need to get a hold of me for anything business related. The only thing that I ask is if you have a question, a really quick question, then where do I want to take this? Where do I want to take this? Hold on. If you have a really quick question, it's okay to, if you reach out, just to skip the pleasantries. You can just ask the question. You don't have to say, hey, Otis, and then wait for a response. You can just ask the question. It is okay. And I'll try to answer them. Most of you all are in my database already somewhere. So I can, sorry, you guys can tell I'm horrible at multitasking. Let's do this. Okay, so I'm going to go entrepreneurship, strictly entrepreneurship general, and then we'll apply it to real estate, and we'll see how that goes. Most of you have heard me mention Venture U. Venture U is a division of 4 Data Points Academy that focuses strictly on entrepreneurship, and we have an international business retreat coming up in October 1st to October 6th in Medellin, Colombia. And we are flying in every consultant that you will need to start or scale your business. So by the time you leave there, you'll have all the answers. You don't have to go figure anything out. You don't have to go pay somebody to do anything. We're actually going to work with you. And we're going to focus on these 8 categories. And then I'm also going to have people there that are in the wealth management space. Because you can be the greatest entrepreneur in the world, but if you can't multiply your money, then I don't know what to tell you. All right, I think we're good. All right, I think we're good. All right, so we have a guide called the Business Blueprint. So when people are starting or scaling a business, there's 8 areas of focus. Now, this isn't somebody that has a hobby. This isn't something, a side hustle. This is for people that actually want to take that hobby or side hustle to become an actual business. And although we focus on 8, there are actually more, but these are the core functions. So I really want to start by going step by step, and you guys can take notes. I have this guide. This guide comes straight out of our Venture U program. Again, we are going to have a curriculum for this, and we're going to have a not necessarily a mentorship for this, but we're going to go a 3-week program for people that can't make our international business retreats. We are not launching that, and not even in the next couple months. But this guide is a part of that. So if you guys want this guide, go ahead and reach out to me. I'll tell you how to reach out to me. You folks on TikTok can see the number above my head. You folks on all the other platforms, you can go to meetotis.com, and I'll go ahead and make sure that you guys have these. Now, where do we start? Oh boy. You know it's about to be a long conversation because you keep hearing me pause and drinking this coffee. All right. Market understanding. We're going to start right there. So most people go into this and they haven't put a lot of thought into who they are going to serve. And I will frame this in this way. I will give you the point that you need to consider, and then I will go over the subtext for that. For example, when we talk about market understanding, identifying who you serve, there's 2 questions that you need to ask. All right. This is business owners and potential business owners. Who's my ideal customer and what problem am I solving? Who's my ideal customer and what problem am I solving? If you don't know that, then you're just kind of aiming in the dark. All right. What's up, Eddie Gwen? So, and again, you guys on Clubhouse, if you guys want to come over to, matter of fact, I'll put my TikTok in the thing on my handle on Clubhouse. I'm not really focusing on Clubhouse right now because I have it on my iPad and it's a little bit distracting, but I can hear you guys on Clubhouse. So if you guys want to come up and ask a question or not, or put something in the chat, I'll go ahead and get to it. But that's my TikTok handle on Clubhouse. You guys can come over and then we can talk, we can interact. All right. Who do I serve? What do they truly need? So you got to get laser focused on the specific person that you're trying to reach. And I'm not just talking about demographics, their desires, frustrations, dreams. If you go that far, the clearer you are, the easier it is to attract them. So, and we use this a lot in marketing and advertising. And it just doesn't matter what business you're in. You folks on TikTok, this is a new page for us. I think we're only at 1,300 followers. But go ahead and if you can share the room, it'd be much appreciated. This is going to be information that normally you would have to pay for somewhere else. And I'll go ahead, again, like I said before, I'll go ahead and give you the guide. So if you are thinking about starting a business, if you're working a 9-to-5 and are thinking about transitioning and venturing out on your own, this is going to be kind of your starting point. What urgent problem am I solving? So every successful businesses, hold on. Every time I drink my coffee in the morning, I get tongue tied. I'll typically wake up and then I'll jump in the shower and I'll go, put a do-rag on and blow dry it and then go make my coffee and come in here. But I got late, so it takes me about 10 minutes to get warmed up. So if I stutter and trip over my words, it's okay. All right. Every successful business solves a real pressing problem. Define the pain point you address so clearly that your customers immediately recognize you as a solution. So we are paid based on our ability to perform. We are paid, entrepreneurs I'm talking about, we are paid on our ability to solve a problem. So if you're writing this down, that is where you should focus first. Now, once you have an understanding of the problem you are trying to solve and who you are trying to serve, then you have to clarify what your offer is. So 2 questions. So what am I selling exactly? Clarity sells, folks. So define your product or service so precisely that a potential customer instantly understands what it is, what it does, why it matters. Now, we went through this issue with the 4 Data Points Academy because we had so many different offerings that we wanted to give people and we were casting too wide of a net. So if you go to our website, 4datapoints.com now, it's 3, right? It's 3 offers. There's group curriculum with one-on-ones, group curriculum with one-on-ones, and then we find your first deal for you. It's those 3. You got to pick one. Before that, we had about 9 and a bunch of different price points. And I wasn't even comfortable with that because our calls, our intake calls were kind of all over the place because people didn't know what to choose. So we were choosing 4 people and that didn't rub me the right way at all because I don't like to steer people in any particular direction. right? I like to understand what their needs are, what their goals are, and then have them, based on what we offer, choose the one that best suits that. And it's my job to clarify those offers so they have an understanding. All right. So, what am I selling, and why would someone choose me over others? That is something that I would ask before I even got into business. Some markets are really saturated, right? For example, credit repair. I gotta have some background music or something. I can't. So, credit repair is very saturated, right? And so much so that it has a negative stigma attached to it. And you get to the point where you really just don't know who to trust. So what makes one credit repair agency or servicer better than another one? And you just don't know because it's not very, very clear. So if you don't know who to trust, 9 times out of 10 you're not going to trust anybody. All right. So why would someone choose me over others? So let me take it back to the 4 Data Points Academy and why somebody would choose us over another mentorship program. One, our reputation is, we don't have any negative publicity. All right, we've got 100 Google 5-star reviews. It's positive all over the place. Now, are we perfect? No, right? You don't have to be perfect to get 5-star reviews and positive feedback. You just have to conduct business with honesty and integrity. I'm getting too much light coming in that window. Somebody, can you adjust that window? I have all the lights off and I'm still getting too much light coming in that window. Light skinned brothers, boy, we trying to bring it back. All right. So we don't have an end date. We don't, because I understand that when you're teaching people how to invest in real estate, I understand how long it takes. And the reason we don't have an end date is because we want to make sure that we can be 100% sure that if a person does not give up, if they stay in the fight, that they will become a seasoned real estate investor. So we always create a space for them to come back and level up if they run into a challenge that they need help with. And we do that for as long as it takes. I don't care if it takes a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, whatever it is, because I'm banking on our ability. I'm 100% confident that we can do that. And I hope we hold ourselves accountable to doing that. Now, if you are a mentorship real estate company, there's 5, I'm not going to name them, but the 2 that come closest to us, and I say the word closest loosely, they charge $25,000 a year. The other one charged $35,000 a year. And then they get you to invest in their deals and blah, blah, blah. That's not something that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to turn people into real estate investors. And then once they become seasoned real estate investors, if they want to do some business together, we can. We know, like, and trust each other. We've built a relationship already. And there's not a lot of the drama that comes with real estate investing. All right. We're also flexible. All of our classes are in the evenings. All of our classes are taught live. We have all the tools everybody else does. But that is a very big deal for somebody that wants to be a real estate investor, because you have to, once you pay that much money, and even though our price point is drastically lower than everybody else's, especially when you look at the lifetime commitment that we have, then nobody else can compare and nobody else wants to, because they understand how expensive it is and how it hits their bottom line. Well, we're not money centric, we're investor centric. So the money that we make that's not the driver, right? The driver is seeing how many real estate investors that we can create. So number 2, in setting up your business, develop a clear, irresistible offer. What are you selling exactly, and why would someone choose you over others? All right. If you can't clearly explain what you sell and why you're the best choice, neither can your customers. So simplicity and confidence wins every time. And trust me, folks, I've been through those growing pains, so I can tell you what it is. Now these apply to all businesses, but after we get through this, we're going to go back and then we're going to apply it to a real estate investing situation, mainly somebody who learns to become a real estate investor and then ultimately wants to scale up that business to a real estate investing business. So just because you know how to invest doesn't mean you know how to run a business. So I'm going to tie it all in. We're going to go back through these, and that's the example that I am going to use. Now, the third thing that you have to consider as an entrepreneur, you have to have a sales system. You've got to build a repeatable sales process. How do I turn interest into paying customers? And what's my step-by-step sales flow? Now, this is something a lot of people just don't consider because what happens is people get into business and they can already make money, they can already generate a little bit of capital, but their issue is they're just not able to scale it up. And if you're not able to scale it up, then there's going to be a bottleneck. And for somebody that's trying to transition from a 9 to 5 job into the entrepreneurship space, that bottleneck issue has to be resolved. All right. So, how do I turn interest into paying customers? So, curiosity is not enough. You need a clear, confident path that moves people from interested to ready to buy. It doesn't matter whether it's a product or a service. And your job is to guide them, not leave them guessing. The second part of that, what's my step-by-step sales flow? So every sales journey, you got to map out each step from first contact to closing so you can confidently lead prospects through the process without missing opportunities. If you don't have a repeatable sales process, you are going to fail. That's just one of the most important components of starting a business. Now, let's say you have no idea how to set that up. If you are coming to the Venture U, and by the way, that's if you go to meetotis.com, all of these events and stuff are on there. All of these things are on there. So we're going to do that for you because people don't know how to, if you don't know where to start, you're not going to know how to build a repeatable sales process. And you guys got to forgive me. If you can see my face, the reason why I'm looking all over the place is because I got 4, 5 different screens up and a little hint of ADD. All right. So number 3, sales system, build a repeatable sales process, turn your customers, how to turn interest into paying customers, and what's your step-by-step sales flow. If you don't have one, we'll build it out for you. You got to get there too, by the way. We're going to have fun too. If you guys have been in my workshops, you guys know how we like to get down. We're doing, we've got a 17 room villa. And one of the requirements for this villa was we had to have just as many bathrooms as there was bedrooms. So we got 17 bathrooms. I'm a bathroom guy. I got to have a nice bathroom wherever I stay at. So I'll be staying in the house. Everybody, all of the clients will be staying in the house. And then I have another house nearby that all of the consultants are going to be staying at. So we're going to party, folks. I mean, like 40 plus year olds do, right? All right. Number 4, you got to have a marketing strategy. You got to create awareness and attract your ideal clients. Also understand that every client is not yours. Every client is not your ideal client. And most people try to cast a wide net. And if you think that every client is your client, it's really easy to get discouraged. And it's really easy to get discouraged when you start marketing. When we're building out our pages and doing our social media posts and all that stuff, it can get discouraging because there's only so many people that are interested in real estate investing, right? And what happens is you can slip into that space of, and this is all entrepreneurs go through this. You can slip into that space of, man, I like everybody's looking at all this stuff and nobody's looking at my stuff. But you got to really dissect that. Look at the garbage that a lot of people flock towards on social media, right? I don't have to get into it. You guys already know what I mean. There were some posts. I've done posts where I've given away information and processes that you would have to pay for somewhere else, and it only got 2, 3, 4, 500 views. And I laugh about it now, but at the time I was like, man, what's going on here? Like this is, I put that post up and it was like pulling the pin out of a grenade and throwing the grenade. I thought it was just going to blow up. It was like 3 views, right? Because most people can't afford, what it is that we do, right? The average American can, but a lot of people on that particular platform couldn't because the demographic wasn't my demographic. My demographic are, 35 to 75 women in the healthcare industry. That's our biggest demographic. I don't know why. I don't know how it got that way, but that's what analytics tell us. Now, do I market to other people? Absolutely. But you got to understand, everybody's not your client. Okay. You don't want the most people, you want the right people. I was doing we're going through the TikTok building. This is a new page for us, as I mentioned before. And one of the people that signed up at the 4 Data Points Academy, they weren't following me. Like they didn't follow me up to that point. And most of the people that sign up with me have been following me for some time. So the conversations are pretty pretty smooth, right? Like they already know me. They know that I've been teaching for so long. They've learned something that they can actually apply. And so there's no, I don't have to convince them of anything. But I was doing a TikTok room and there was probably only 6 people in there. And I'm the reason they signed up, they said, look, I was talking to, I was in one of your TikTok rooms. There was like 6 or 7 of us, and you were talking in there. You were teaching like there was 5,000 people in there. Now they didn't realize that I had been doing this for a long time, and they didn't realize that it was a new page, and I understood that those were just growing pains. But 6 people and one of them signed up. I'd rather have 6 people and one sign up than 1,000 people and none sign up. Right. So as an entrepreneur, that's one of the growing pains that you got to get over. Right. You stay consistent and understand that everybody is not your client. Right? Everybody is not your client. All right. So your marketing strategy, you do want to create awareness and attract your ideal clients. So there's 2 questions that we're going to ask, and I'll give you the subtext. Where does my ideal customer spend time? Okay. Now, for a while, we stopped scheduling rooms on Clubhouse because I could no longer justify the time to do that. And the reason why we came back on Clubhouse is because people were reaching out saying, hey, when are your rooms and blah, blah, blah. So I would start including Clubhouse in my live streams, but I wouldn't schedule anything. And after doing that for, a week or two, I realized that, well, shoot, I can make the most out of this time because I can do Clubhouse on my iPad. I can do Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn on StreamYard. I can do TikTok on my other phone. I can do it all at once. It's no more trouble for me to be able to do that. So we went back to doing that, but I had to be able to justify the time. And until I had the streaming software, I was able to use it because there's a learning curve. And, as an entrepreneur, we ain't got time to do all that. Now I can. All right. So where does my ideal customer spend time? And how do I consistently reach them? Well, this is one of the ways. We don't do paid ads. Like we did 7 figures without a single paid ad. It was just word of mouth. And, we just stayed consistent. And anytime, and I was telling somebody yesterday, because they were going through some of these same growing pains. Okay. Somebody hadn't received the link. Oh, okay. Whoever just text that number, I'll go ahead and get that link to you today. My apologies. They were going through some growing pains and they were like, man, like what am I doing wrong? And I told them, I said, look, you're relatively new, right? You've just been doing this for, a year. You've just been doing this for a year or less. Just stay consistent, do good business, and the right people will find you. And that's a conversation I had to have internally. All right. But there always has to be a marketing strategy. You always got to create awareness and attract your ideal client. So those are 2 questions. Where does my customer spend time and how do I consistently reach them? I'll address the first one. So your marketing needs need to meet people where they already are, not where you wish they were. That's important. Where they already are, not where you wish they were. So find out what platforms, communities, and spaces your ideal customers trust and frequent, and then start focusing on that. Now, the second question, how do I consistently reach them? Consistency builds familiarity, and familiarity builds trust. So create a simple, repeatable system to stay in front of your audience so you're the first name they think of when you're ready to buy. Now, if I look over at our Clubhouse room right now, there's only about there's about 8 people in there. I haven't been consistent on there. So a lot of people don't even know I'm back on here yet, and I don't send out notifications saying, hey, I'm about to do a room on there. I don't. All right. But eventually these rooms are going to start getting bigger because anybody that wants to be a real estate investor and wants guidance, they already know that I'm the end all be all. There is no after me. All right. So they'll start coming back and finding me and coming back to these rooms and so on and so forth. So I say all that to say, don't get discouraged by that. Just understand these are all spaces that you have. Thank you, Leslie. These are all spaces or all areas that you need to focus. Now I'm gonna do a recap and then I'm gonna tie all this together into a real estate investing business when we're done. All right, so that was marketing strategy. Now this next one is huge. I'm sipping my coffee, folks. I'm not pausing for effect. This next one is huge, and this next one I didn't really dive into until I'd already been doing this for some years, and I really placed additional focus on this, or some real focus on this just this year. And it is operations and systems. Folks, you already know, if you are a one man or a one woman show and you are doing everything, or maybe you have an admin, or maybe you have, what's up, Nick? Or maybe you have, maybe a couple support staff or whatever it is. But let's say you're by yourself. You will bottleneck at some point. So you have to have systems in place so you can step away and focus on what it is you need to be focusing on. It's my job to execute the vision for not just for Data Points Academy, but Venture U and Ascend U. That's something that you guys will start to see more and more as the weeks in the weeks to come. It's not my job to you want people. What was it? Oh, sorry. Hold on. It's not my job to sit behind a Google, Excel spreadsheet all day, or it's not my job to do all of these things that take my attention away from what I'm supposed to be doing. All right. You want people on Clubhouse? Here I am, baby. All right. On. Thank you, Dick. All right. So you got to design efficient systems that remove bottlenecks. So the first question you have to ask is, what systems or what tasks can be systematized or delegated? Now, if you guys text that number, that 702-710-8030, what happens is I see that. But if you call that number, an AI operator will pick up and there'll be some dialogue. I actually see that happening for the most part because it's right at my desk. Why do I do that? Because I've got to weed out a lot of people that are calling for things that either aren't business related, or they're not calling for the reason that I'm looking for them to call. Okay. So I have to be able to weed those out because it could take a lot of my time. So answering phones is a task that could be systematized. That's why I tell people to text. All right. What's up, Vanessa? That's why I tell people to text that number, because boom, quick text in and out. I can get them what they need and then I'm done. All right. So that's the first question. Second question is, how will I track my key performance numbers? So this is tough to set up. And part of the reason why I'm flying in these consultants to our business retreat is because I have experience in in real estate. I understand what key performance indicators in the multifamily commercial industry and the real estate world are important to gauge our success. But that's not for every business, right? So I have consultants coming in and they're going to build that out for all of our clients. All right. So design efficient systems that remove bottlenecks. 2 questions to ask. And you'll notice every topic, every area that we focus on, there's only 2 questions, right? Now, is this the end all be all? Absolutely not. But this is where you should start. This is a good starting point. So those 2 questions: what tasks can be systematized or delegated? And 2, how will I track key performance numbers? So how do I know I'm doing well, right? It's very, very important. Now, when we start getting into systems and automations, all those things, you got to bring a consultant on for that, right? I use Go High Level. I jumped into Go High Level just like I was going to be off and running. There is a learning curve in that bad boy, right? It does so much that I have to bring in a consultant to help me work it out, right? I have courses in there for my students, not courses that it's not for the general public, folks. I don't do courses. I don't sell courses, but I have some study tools in there for my students when, 2 a.m, if they wake up and they want to remember what I went over about seller financing, they can go in there and they can look at videos and lessons and stuff like that. All right. That keeps them from having to reach out to me. So it's more efficient for them because they can access the information quicker, and it saves me time. I don't have to address specific things. All right. Especially for folks that don't have one-on-ones with me, then I need to be able to make sure that they get the information they need when they need it. All right. All right. We keep going. We have, if you guys have, let me go ahead and get this. What's up, Chucky? I'm gonna get to you right now, brother. Or sis. I don't know. I'm assuming. All right. The next one is, go ahead and come up. I just pulled you up, so feel free to come up. The next one is financial clarity. Folks, you got to be able to manage income and expenses. You got to know your numbers to grow your numbers, period. One of the things that, one of the shows I watch is Shark Tank. So the reason I like Shark Tank is because the questions that they ask, even though I'm not trying to get funding and even though I'm not trying to get investors, I want to have my business dialed in so much that I can answer all of their questions. And they have some really good questions, right? So what I would do is I would go ahead and I would get the transcripts for a Shark Tank episode. I would upload it into AI, and then I would upload all of our offerings into AI and say, apply these questions to what it is that I do. And then I'd upload, a few other things. I do that all the time just for fun. Right. So, Sundays when y'all was out at brunch, I was nerding out to stuff like that. But you got to know your numbers to grow your numbers. So here's 2 questions. What are my monthly expenses and income targets? And folks, I understand when you're starting out, you can be all over the place. All right. You can be all over the place. What do you think about the Texas housing market? That's a very vague question because Texas has different markets within Texas. So when you're talking about like Metro Houston or Dallas, I will say it's oversaturated. There's some opportunities on the outskirts, but I run the 4 data points on an actual property and I don't look at an entire market because that is too high level. And I want to get as granular as possible. So if an opportunity presents itself, I look at that subject address. I ask 4 questions. What does it cost? What does it cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? If it passes muster, then it doesn't matter what the market is doing because that may be a good investment. See how quickly I go from entrepreneurship to real estate, but your boy is hot. I'm sorry. I just tooted my own horn. So again, know your numbers to grow your numbers. What are my monthly expenses and income targets? Without clear targets, you're flying blind. Know exactly how much you need to earn and stay afloat and how much more you need to grow. How am I managing cash flow? Profit is great, but cash flow is survival. You need to know when money comes in, when it goes out, and how to avoid running dry. Now, I'm going to give you a reality check in a second. When you're starting a business as an entrepreneur, it can be very, very chaotic. And you're not going to know your numbers right away. You're going to be going from, and this is for folks that don't have, funding and a business plan yet. They're just starting, right? You're going to be going from business credit cards. Those get maxed out. You may be going to personal credit cards. You may be taking loans. You may be doing all these things and be all over the place. And you may not be able to afford a bookkeeper or a CPA at that point. My recommendation is to download a template. It's typically some form of Excel spreadsheet or some software program. It doesn't even have to be QuickBooks, folks. QuickBooks can, if you don't have an accounting background, QuickBooks, as simple as it sounds, can pose some challenges. But just track everything on an Excel spreadsheet, a template, all right? Even if you don't know what to do with it yet, just track all the income, all the expenses, and then look at it every month. The best time to do it is end of month, right? We call it accounting month end. The end of the month, go over your financials, see what it is. I had to do that for my CPA, and I had to go back like a year for a couple reasons. And then I realized that I had all these subscription services that I didn't even need. I forgot that I had them. But because they're so small, right? $75 here, $65 here, I didn't really notice them on my financials. And it was a significant amount of money, especially for things that I'm not using. All right. So know your numbers. What are your monthly expenses and income targets? And how are you managing cash flow? Now, here's a reality check. This is where most businesses fall short. They focus on making money, but ignore managing the money. Amen. So they focus on making the money, but ignore managing the money. So without clear targets and control over cash flow, even great businesses can crash. Now, my solution is always make more money, right? That's the entrepreneur in me. That's the lion in me, right? That's fine. Just make more money. But again, if it's not being managed, you could exhaust yourself, right? Eventually that well's going to run dry. So you got to get in a position to make good decisions. All right. Oh, here's a good one. Team and leadership. Team and leadership, well, shoot, it's just me. Build support as you grow. You can't do it all forever. Now, you can do it all for a certain amount of time. I'll even go as far as to say you can hit the $1 million mark doing it with just you and maybe one other person, right? Depending on your price points, the demand, and what it is you sell. But eventually you're going to cross that bridge where you have to get other people involved. And I'm sure we're going to have some people at our business retreat that are in that space. And what we're going to tell them is what areas to focus for these other people and how to pay them when you don't have the money, right? We're going to let sales drive everything else. So paying people out of the sales and putting a plan together to be able to do that. All right. Now, build support as you grow. You can't do it all. 2 questions. What roles do I need filled next? And how will I lead and manage a small team? The first thing I did, now we're the exception, because 4 Data Points Academy was created out of necessity, not because, hey, I want to start this business and start mentoring people. I saw so many, about 5 years ago, well, let's call it 4 years ago, going on 5. I saw so many people taken advantage of. I thought that, okay, well, let me just create a few lessons that I can hand to everybody for free, so that when they are signing up for these programs or they are having conversation with these wholesalers and they're out here trying to make it work, that they won't get in trouble. They won't get caught up in something that they can't get out of. So I was giving this stuff away when I would go and speak at real estate conferences and all these events. Some of you guys saw me speak at some events, I'm sure. And I would give them to people like in the elevator, people I saw in the lobby, and I would have it all in PDFs on my phone. And I would just, here, let me email you something. And that started out with the 4 data points. It was the 4 data points guide, the original version, to teach people how to assess a deal. Now, after that, when we got way too big, way too fast. I didn't realize the demand for real estate education was what it was, because I'm not out here on the internet. I mean, I am now because I have to be. And this is just, I don't really highlight and glamorize it because I've been exposed to this my entire life. So me, it's just another Tuesday for me. And then, the wave kind of hit, and, you wake up one day and everybody's a millionaire online and everybody's a guru and everybody got a boat but Otis. But that's just the world we live in, right? So what I did was I did my business plan really, really early, when I said, okay, I've got to be able to help more people. Like I've got to be able to service as many people as possible. I've got to be able to put myself in a position of power and influence, because if you have a good heart, power and influence is a good thing, not just for you, but for the community. Right. And that started happening really, really fast. So I said, all right, let me go ahead and organize my business plan. If you look at my business plan, it is 100 pages, right? You guys heard me say this before. I gave it to somebody that deals in that space, and I wasn't trying to get funding. This was just for me only, just to make sure that I had every detail of the business dialed in. And doing a business plan will expose the areas that I may be weak in. And a part of that business plan is your team. So I created job recs for every single position that I'm going to need, right? Descriptions and just of the role and the entire, as if I'm getting ready to hire somebody tomorrow. All right. Now, with all that information, it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. All right. But I got to be able to see where I'm going so I can make informed decisions where I'm at right now. So I'll say it again. Build support as you grow. You can't do it all forever. What roles do I need filled? Growth requires support. Focus on the roles that will free up your time and move the business forward, not just the ones you like the most. Let me read that again. Growth requires support. Focus on the roles that will free up your time and move the business forward, not just the roles you like the most. Now, what roles are going to move the business forward? Sales. Well, I don't have any money to pay salespeople. Pay them commission, period. Pay them out of the profits. Second question, how will I lead and manage a small team? Leadership is not about doing everything yourself. It's about creating clarity, setting expectations, and empowering others to perform at a high level. Now, I see a lot of people going into business with their friends. I get it, folks. I get it. It's fun. All right. It's fun. I've got, most of you guys know, James, he deals with a certain aspect of the application of what people are learning in the form of a program we call Deal Maker's Dream, where we find your deal for you, and we help you navigate with the contractors and basically hold your hand from start to finish. All right. But eventually James is gonna want to do his own thing. Now I have he specializes in business acumen, right? And he's really good at it. I had a program built with Venture U around business acumen, business intelligence. But I have to plan for him to go off and do his own thing. So somebody else I'm going to have to bring in and lead that. All right. Those are the things that you have to take into consideration. Really be careful who you go into business with. It can either help you or it can hurt you. All right. And that is a huge one. It can help you or it can hurt you. And I know people that are really, really successful that had to go through the growing pains of hiring people, firing people. You just can't expect people to have the same grit that you do. You can't expect people to go as hard as you do. And there's been times where I had that expectation. All right. Like I'm not lazy and I don't let's talk. Can we talk about this? Put a one in the chat if we can just spend some time on this one, because I'm about to vent to y'all. All right. About to vent. All right. Let me say that again. You can't expect people to go as hard as you do. And if you have people that you love and care about in your circle and you have those expectations of them and they are working with you in your business and they don't meet expectations, it can damage the relationship. Right? It can damage the relationship. So clear and open communication is important. Right? Nick said, let it out, Otis. Clear and open communication is important. Keisha says, we need ways to get funding for investing help. Keisha, reach out to me. I got you. All right. Is that Keisha in our program, Keisha? All right. We'll get you squared away, Keisha. So that is important when you are trying to consider, not trying, when you are considering who you're going to get involved with. All right. And holding people to the same standards as you. And keep in mind what happens, folks, as an entrepreneur. We all understand that entrepreneurship is difficult. And when you get into it, you realize it's so much more difficult than you even thought. And it's not necessarily the mechanics of doing what it is that you're trying to do. It's the lenses that you see through when you're evaluating what you're trying to do, right? There's going to be times that you want to give up. And with this technology, you really got to be grounded, because you go on the internet, it looks like everybody's doing better than you. And I do this. So I'm looking at people, I'm like, how does this person have a private jet? I know what the numbers look like. I know what it costs to host an event, because I foot the bill the entire time. And you guys that have been following me around, where we go and do our events: Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, DC, Charlotte, New York, Philadelphia, Chicago, Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, LA, Long Beach, Oakland. I'm sure I'm missing some one or two cities in there. And I foot the entire bill. So I know what it cost. And I know what type of numbers that some of these folks are putting up. I'm like, it's just not adding up. You cannot afford a private jet based on where they're at. And I'm like, did I miss the memo somewhere? I know how much a private jet costs, even entry level. I know because I was looking at them. Don't misinterpret that. I was just looking at them. I wasn't going to buy one. I was just looking at them. But and then I realized, oh, well, people are lying. I didn't realize. I mean, you see that, right? You hear people that are kind of, influencers and all that. You hear about them. It's not all true. But I couldn't wrap my mind around how can somebody get away with lying? You're going to be found out. So I didn't think that anybody would have the gonads to do that. And, but that's what it was. But that could be very, very discouraging to somebody that is going into it and doing it the right way. So there's times as an entrepreneur, you have to filter out all the noise. If you're not able to filter out all the noise, you are going to be influenced by everything that happens around you. Right? And that is very, very important. So when you are building a team, that's part of the overall issue that you need to resolve, right? Because they could discourage you also, right? They could discourage you also. Um, Even outside your team, people that support outside your general team that I've created opportunities for. I've created opportunities for quite a few people. And I'll say, hey, go ahead and do X, Y, and Z, and then they get lazy about it, which is fine. I'll no longer utilize them for that thing. But then these people will come back and ask me for money. Hey man, can I get some, I'm short on my rent, short on my no, you can't. Starve. Sorry. You tell I got triggered a little bit. Can y'all tell I got triggered a little bit? All right. You get emotional just talking about it. Starve. All right. Moving forward. I know, Lord. I know, Lord. I know. I'm trying to be better, Lord. I'm trying to be better. All right. So let me do a recap for the folks that first that are just getting into some of these other platforms. So this is the 8 focus points for every business owner, right? Eight focus points that every business owner must master. First, we talked about understanding your market, identify who you serve and what they truly need. And the 2 questions you should be asking: who's my ideal customer? What problem am I solving? All right. The next was, what are you offering? Your offer creation. So you should develop a clear, irresistible offer. What am I selling? Why would somebody choose me over others? All right. Almost like the 4 data points, right? 4 questions you should always ask yourself every time you're considering. No, it's not. No. Okay. Sorry. Moving on. All right. Sales system. Build a repeatable sales process. How do I turn interest into paying customers? And what is my step-by-step sales flow? A lot of us need coaching on that when we're starting out, which is okay. Just make sure you're talking to the right people. Marketing strategy. Create awareness and attract your ideal clients. And then, I made the point, every client is not your client. All right. Kim Kardashian has, 100 million followers. I doubt 10 of those people are my clients. My clients are grown adults, right? Sorry. No shade to Kim Kardashian. Where was I? Okay. So where do my ideal clients spend time, and how do I consistently reach them? All right. Operations and systems. This is the big one. This is going to allow you to free up your time. So define efficient systems that remove bottlenecks. So what tasks can be systematized, and how will I track my performance? How do I know that I'm doing well in my business? What numbers? What data points? All right. Then we talk about financial clarity. Know your numbers to grow your numbers. What are my monthly expenses and income targets? How am I managing cash flow? If you don't know how to manage that yourself, bring in consultants. Again, our Venture U retreat, I'm flying in all of the consultants, and they're all going to be in one house. So if you guys are interested in that, make sure you reach out to me. Don't reach out to me if you don't have no passport. It's called an international business retreat. All right. We don't do Miami. Miami, where everybody go and they ain't got no passport. All right. I'm sorry. I was petty. All right. Know your numbers to grow your numbers. What are my monthly income, expenses, and income targets? How am I managing cash flow? Then we went to team and leadership, where I started venting and had a little mini nervous breakdown. Build support as you grow. You can't do it all. So what roles do I need to fill next? And how will I lead and manage a small team? Here's a data point that I missed for you guys. According to the SBA and the NAICS reports, NAICS, businesses with 1 to 4 employees generate an average of $387,000 a year in revenue. Businesses with 5 to 9 employees average over $1 million a year in revenue. So what does that tell you? That means when you have employees, you can make more money. All right. And this is where we are now. Mindset and personal growth. I think that this is, when you start talking about mindset, I just don't think that there's enough people that buy into that. And it is detrimental to your business and your quality of life to ignore mindset and personal growth. I constantly pay for things that contribute to my mindset and personal growth, right? I went to some Tony Robbins events. They were very, very effective. Very, very effective. They were more effective than, because I'm stubborn. I got a personality type that sometimes feels like, I know everything. And it's not, and I know I don't know everything, but in my heart, I feel like I know everything, right? But in my mind, I'm like, no, I don't. Give you an example. I was playing basketball some years ago, I was drinking a Red Bull, and this was a long time ago actually. And the person I was playing against was like, "Yeah, hey, those Red Bulls, those are bad for your heart, man. You probably want to leave those alone." And in my mind, I was like, "Man, shut up! You don't know what you're talking about." But the person I was playing was a board certified heart surgeon. so, but in my heart, I was like, "You don't know what you're talking about." But in my mind, I was like, "Yeah, he does." Right. So I get it. So mindset and personal growth is really, really important because the world, the lenses you see the world through is going to determine how you navigate it. And you guys heard about the time I went to the Tony Robbins event. And when I left that event, I didn't learn a new skill. I just looked at the world differently. Now I can understand why it's called Unleash the Power Within. And folks, I have no affiliation with Tony Robbins. I'm not do what you want. I don't care if you go or not. I'm just sharing my experience with you. And my income increased 5 times over because I approached what I was already doing with a different perspective. And that perspective can run out because we're human, right? It can run out. Being an entrepreneur is a lonely path. It is a lonely path. Not that there aren't a bunch of people that want to be involved with what I'm doing or want me to participate in what they're doing and hang out and doing all these things, but it is a very, very lonely path. All right. So mindset and personal growth is very, very important. So here's the 2 questions when it comes to mindset and personal growth. Number 1, what habits or belief do I need to strengthen? Your mindset is either a multiplier or a limiter. So strengthen the habits and beliefs that fuel resilience, discipline, and smart decision making, because your business will only grow as much as you do. That is important. Your business will only grow as much as you do. Now, the second one, you guys already know. Even if you've never articulated it, you know what it is. How am I protecting my energy and focus? I know it sounds like catchphrases, right? How am I protecting my energy and focus? Now, we're developing, folks. We're all growing, right? I'm 40 something years old. And I clearly understand how far I've come as a human being. And I'm always cognizant of how much I still have to go. And I understand that there's certain conversations I just can't be a part of. I just can't. Right. And I had to come to the conclusion that you can't correct every idiot out there, and you can't engage with every idiot out there. You will always be outnumbered, and you are not going to change anyone's perspective. Right. And if some of you guys are like me, because I got to post on Instagram and TikTok and these things, right, just out of consistency, you know that, hold on one second. You know that, well, maybe you don't know. I spend more time erasing messages that I was going to write than I do actually posting. Right? I'll go ahead and I wouldn't say I get triggered, right? But it's just there's so much stupidity out there, and I'm like, oh no, got to remember I can't engage. Right? I engaged one time, forgot what it was, and I just got hammered. I got it was every ignorant. It was just it was what it was. I can laugh about it now, but I wanted to go find these people and fight them. Like that's where I was with it. And I said, look, that's just a lesson. You just can't engage with everybody. And you also can't make yourself too accessible. Now, this is something that I had actually plotted and planned. I knew that I was making myself extremely accessible in 2021, 2022, right? And I told everybody, look, get my rookie card now because it's going to be too expensive. It's going to be too much if you wait, right? So everybody that rocked with me back then, they're still rocking with me now, and they got the most value because they came in to what I was doing when I was just putting it all together. So the price point to be involved in this was very, very low. It's still low, right? Relative to what it should cost when you have support for the rest of your professional life, right? It's very, very low, right? But the more accessible you make yourself, the more energy is going to be stolen from you. And I do mean stolen, right? the more energy it's going to be stolen from you. So I have to, there's certain times where I have to kind of withdraw, right? Withdraw to go ahead and recharge. But I don't always get to control when I do that. And when you can't withdraw and go recharge, you get burned out. And when you get burned out, it messes with your energy. It messes with your focus. You hit a wall. And if you guys have never hit a wall, what that means is, here's a symptom of hitting a wall. You're overwhelmed. You got so much to do. I'll come in, sit down at the computer, and just stare at it for like an hour. Did not do anything because you're so drained and you can't recharge. And for me, I had to make an adjustment because I have a young son that I have every other month. So if I'm not out there driving this company forward, then no one else is going to do it for me. I don't have a support system that I can depend on to do that and do it up to my standards. I have a lot of people that want to help me do that, but I can't trust them to go as hard as I do, right? I go hard like it's life and death. Even when I don't feel like going hard, I'll go hard just for the sake of going hard. You've got to be able to dig deep and find that gas, right? Even when you run out, because I am everybody's plan B, right? I don't have a plan B. I'm everybody else's plan B. And that pressure can really wear you down as an entrepreneur. I'm telling you, it can wear you down. All right. So mindset and personal growth and protecting your energy should be a priority. A lot of you guys know the Win in Real Estate guys, Anthony Glenn down in Southern California. He does a lot of, really, really good friend of mine. As a matter of fact, we met some years ago where we were speaking at some events. And I'm very, very competitive when I speak at an event, like very, very competitive. So much so that I want to go on right before the keynote speaker so I can make that fool nervous, right? I don't know what it is. It's just I'm most comfortable up there. And I want anybody that comes after me to pay for it. Anthony's the same way, right? And so we started, I would go before him. He would go before me sometimes. And we started hanging out, and he's in California. I'm in Northern California. He's in Southern California. And he and I, we don't do the same things, but we have some similarities and some overlap in what we do. And, so I always, when I need to recharge, I go down there and stay at his house for a weekend. And we go hit up wineries and, do all that stuff, right? Because he understands all of the entrepreneurial issues that we go through, so we can bounce stuff off of each other. And when he's stressed out, he'll reach out because he knows I understand. And that is a key factor in me being able to recharge. So I encourage all of you guys to have somebody like that that's either doing it at your level, has been through what you're going through as an entrepreneur and made it through, and develop a relationship so you can bounce stuff off with that person. Because I'm telling you, that could be the saving grace. It could be the saving grace. All right. Where are we at? All right. So Venture U, our 5-day intensive retreat. You guys can reach out to me if you're interested in that. No guesswork, no gaps, just the right experts under one roof to build your future. All right. So we're going to take a deep dive into these 8 business pillars that we went over. Now I'm going to bring this back and I'm going to tie it to real estate. And if you guys have any questions, you guys on TikTok, I'm going to open up the other squares, bring some of my friends up so we can ask questions. And I'll open it up for questions on Clubhouse. I'm going to take these 8 pillars and we're going to tie them to real estate. But at this event, we are going over all 8 pillars. We're really going over probably 12 or 13 while we're there. We're going to be going 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. For 3 days, and then 10 a.m. to, I believe, 2 p.m. on the weekend, because it's Medellin, Colombia, and balance, right? We got to go out there, and I want people to see the country and understand what it feels like when you don't have the stress of capitalism on your shoulders. A lot of that stuff is weighing us down. We're just too used to it. And when you go to some of these other countries that the U.S. tries to make you believe are was worse than the U.S., when you go to some of these other places, you see what it's like. You see how it's supposed to be. And I'm telling you guys, it's not supposed to be like this. So this event, we're going to go over these 8 pillars I just discussed. probably more than that. There's going to be a wealth and investing component. We're going to do personalized consulting with experts in these different areas. And yes, I do have a private chef that's going to be taking care of everybody. Yes, it's a luxury villa, so there's going to be stuff to do in the actual villa, and it's going to be some good networking. It's just going to be a overall good event. We're already working on the second one. I believe the second one may be in Thailand. I don't know. Yes, and dancing. Did I mention that before, Angel? Yeah, and dancing. So I'm going to have somebody come in and teach everybody how to salsa dance and bachata and merengue and all that stuff. All right. And fellas, if you're married, don't be trying to come to this retreat alone just because you're trying to get to Medellin and I'm not going to be your excuse to get to Colombia. All right. All right. That's adventureu.live. If you guys have any more questions about that. Now, I am going to open it up for real estate questions. Anybody on TikTok, if you want to come up, just put the request. I'll go ahead and bring you up. We're going to talk about some real estate. I'm going to go back over these 8 pillars, but now I'm going to tie it into real estate where it's going to be, I'm a real estate investor, and now I want to have a real estate investing business because that's the natural progression, right? I'm a real estate investor. I know how to invest. I know how to make money as a real estate investor. Now I want to have a real estate investing business that I could ultimately step away from. Okay. Now, this isn't something that would happen in the first 1 or 2 years. I think that this is more, I would say maybe your 3rd year, depending on your resources and how active you are. Because we don't have an end date, there's no pressure to accomplish any of these things in a particular amount of time. But, well, let me just go over it. So any questions before I jump in? Let me go to Clubhouse real quick and let me just check the comments to make sure I'm not missing anything. All right. I'm just looking for question marks. All right. So I think we're good there. All right. Let me go everywhere else, but I think we're good. Nick said, if you build it, they will come. Right on. All right. So now let's take it back. Let's take it back. Now, remember these 8 pillars. The first one was market understanding. Identify your niche and ideal investor client, right? Remember, this is real estate now. So the goal here is to define exactly who you help and what problem you solve. Now, here's the process. Define your ideal target. Is it new investors? Is it working professionals? Is it out-of-state buyers looking for passive income? So figure out your real estate investing business. Who are you helping? Obviously, you're helping yourself, but there's got to be other people involved with what it is that you're doing. Even if it's just filling a pipeline to be able to negotiate with potential sellers who don't know they're sellers, right? Or you can just continue to go through wholesalers. But if you're going to step away from a process, then that's something that you should consider bringing internal, right? So pinpoint the main points, the main pain points: confusion, fear, bad deals, lack of capital, or time constraints. So if you have a real estate investing company, you're not going to take down every single deal. You may be putting deals together for other people. And if you're putting deals together for other people, there's a lot of ways to make money in real estate, folks. Putting deals together for other people can be really, really profitable. Right? You can take an acquisition fee. You can write yourself into the deal. There's a lot of ways to make money that way. Right? Create a customer profile. So include demographics, income level, experience with real estate, and personal goals. So if I'm putting together a deal, let's say we want to go take down an apartment building. Okay. Let's say it's a $500,000 deal, right? So it's not a very big deal relative to, other syndications or investments. But let's say I want to do that. And I need 5 investors. And I don't want to get any financing. Okay. I'm not going to approach people that make less than, $80,000, $90,000 a year, because they may not have the resources to be able to support that. And I've got to know that before I put the deal together. All right. So I'm going to validate it with research. I'm going to conduct surveys. You can do LinkedIn polls, webinars to confirm your assumptions, but you're looking for your ideal clients. Now, again, this applies to real estate, but it's based off the 8 pillars that we just went over a few minutes ago. Number 2, offer creation. Package your value clearly. Now, You want to build a standout offer that people can't ignore. So the process, clarify what you offer. Is it deal sourcing? Is it real estate education? Is it partnerships? Is it turnkey investments? Is it fund participation? Folks, I'm going to beat this to death. It's not real estate investing. It's not just flipping homes. There's a lot of ways to make money in real estate investing. All right. And as a real estate investing business, you better know all of them. And if you're one of my students, you will. Okay. I got you. Don't worry. All right. Identify your unique angle. Hands-free multifamily investing in the Southeast, right? So this is kind of niching it out. All right? Package your offer. Include bonuses, guarantees, case studies to enhance perceived value. Test your messaging in email, video, live conversations. Now, a lot of this information could get really, really dry. As a matter of fact, when we start talking about running a real estate investing business, I get bored even talking about it. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. All right. This is something that you will ultimately get to in a few years from starting out. But I'm actually going to create a guide just like that 8 pillars we just went over to get people here a little quicker. All right. Plus, if you have a real estate investing business, well, okay, I'll hold off on that. All right. Systems and sales. Remember, that was pillar 3, create a repeatable acquisition engine. And the goal is to move people from interest to sign contracts. Now, this could be you bringing other investors together. This could be your bringing potential sellers into your funnel, right? So the process, build a lead to close flow. Most of us will use PropStream, create a list, market to PropStream. We do that before we even have an official real estate investing business, right? But we still do it. That's the first step. Are we using a CRM to automate follow-ups in pipeline stages, right? Are we creating scripts for discovery calls? Are we hiring virtual assistants? Do we have standard operating procedures that we can hand to those virtual assistants so that we can train them and let them go off on their own, right? Sales and systems, right? The goal is for you to step away from it. Marketing strategy. You're going to attract your ideal people consistently. Get visible where your audience already spends time. So here's the process. Pick 2 to 3 platforms: Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, right? YouTube is a big one, but guess what? LinkedIn, people have jobs. All right. They have jobs. Share educational content, walkthroughs, deal breakdowns, Q&As. I do that all the time. I've been doing that for years. Capture leads with a free offer. Before, I was just giving this guide out like manually. There was a website called 4datapoints.net. I'm 4datapoints.com. I had a website, 4datapoints.net. And I had the guide. I said, if you want the free guide, just go here and download it. Everybody that's in my database, I gave that guide to. They downloaded it. I got their information, and I was able to send them follow-up information and other information that could benefit them. I could notify them when I was doing a workshop or some of these other things. So that was a lead generation mechanism there, right? So, and that's how I captured those leads. Set up retargeting ads, email drips, so you can stay at the forefront of people's minds. I got to get better at that, right? So we're just posting every day, 2, 3, 4 times, getting more people to know who we are. People are sharing our posts. People are sharing our rooms, right? But we do TikTok. Some of you guys will come in, share the room a few times, and I just got to remain consistent, all right? Now, let's go to the 5th stage, operations and systems. We talked about automating and delegating. Free yourself from bottlenecks. Folks, as an entrepreneur company owner, it's your job to execute the vision. It's not your job to be in the break room, taking inventory of how much coffee is left. All right. Free yourself from bottlenecks. Document SOPs for acquisitions, renovations, and onboarding. Let me say that again. Document SOPs, standard operating procedures, right? A written system of how to do something for acquiring real estate, for renovating the real estate, and for onboarding. In this case, it would be onboarding virtual assistants or anybody else that's going to be involved in your process. Use tools like Asana and Trello can manage workflows. I use Go High Level, but use what you want to. Just have a system to manage workflows. Hire a VA or property manager to handle repeatable tasks, or project manager to handle repeatable tasks. Set up dashboards to track metrics, pipelines, conversions, rehab timelines. You guys aren't going to know all this stuff. somebody has to put this in place either with you or for you. And if you hire somebody to put all this in place for you, it's going to cost you something. All right. But I will create a guide. I will give it to you guys for free. Right. I'm kind of on the fence about whether I should do that, because just handing it to you will get you further than you are now, but I don't think it's enough to get you to get you where you need to be. So I don't like the half-ass stuff. So I don't know. I'll figure it out. All right. Financial clarity. Know your numbers. Make decisions with precision. So here's your process. Break down your business model, typical deal costs and returns, set income targets, right? Do you want it active or do you want it passive? And ROI minimums, right? Return on investment minimums. Use QuickBooks or real estate investing specific software to track expenses and cash flow. I know a couple of the owners of some of these companies. And I think I'll have them send me a discount code for, I keep forgetting the name of this company. All right. He lives in San Mateo, but the founder is here, and I'm gonna see if I can get some discount code for all of my students for some of this property management software. That's very, very important, by the way. You should have property management software, even if you have one property that you are renting out. Know your break-even point and how many deals you need to reach your goals. Team and leadership. So build a scalable team. Gosh, this is, here's the process. So you want to hire for gaps. Okay. Start with a transaction coordinator. Now we're just talking about real estate now. Okay. For other businesses, it would be different, but for real estate, hire a transaction coordinator, an acquisitions lead, or a rehab manager. Define the roles and KPIs. KPIs, when you hear that, that's key performance indicators. That is data you look at to determine how well you're doing. All right. Here's an example. If I know that if I do 100 phone calls that 10 people are going to pick up, and out of the 10 people that are going to pick up, I know 5 of them may be interested in what I'm doing, and 1 of them will definitely close. If the data shows me that, that means for every 1 deal that I get, I got to make 100 calls. So if I need 5 deals to sustain myself, I got to make 500 calls. Okay. That's how we look at KPIs, and really it's analytics, really basic analytics. All right. Run weekly meetings. If you have a team, have a weekly meeting for progress and alignment. All right. 8. Now, the mindset and personal growth is going to be incorporated in every single thing we do, every single business we do, every single thing you do. All right. Keep your head sharp and your vision clear. Schedule weekly learning time. This is important. My reputation, how do I want to articulate this? It's my job to know all of the real estate strategies, all of them. We don't sell real estate strategies. We sell mentorship. So we're not doing tax deed courses. Not that those things aren't effective. We're not doing buying and courses on buying and selling notes. We're not doing the Burr method courses. We're not doing courses on subject to. Those are effective and those are helpful, but those should be tools in your tool belt and not the overall package. So when one of my students, because I make that guarantee that I'm going to turn them into a real estate investor. So when someone signs on with us, we got to be ready for everything. And if a scenario comes up and we can't help somebody, that doesn't sit well with me, right? That doesn't sit well with me at all. So we have to be prepared to be able to, is that Dwayne? Dwayne, if that's you, I don't know if that's Dwayne. If that's you, Dwayne, I want to bring you up if you got time. So there's, anyway, so you got to learn, you got to continue learning. And I nerd out all the time. I do lessons without them even needing to be done. I've got 5 different lessons on subject to financing, because I'll read it, we'll use it for a few months. And if I get too many questions on the lessons, then that's not their fault. That's my fault because I didn't simplify it enough. So I'll go ahead and revise it. And maybe I'll take a subject to lesson, break it up into 3 parts and do 3 different lessons. And then I'll have a Monday roundup, which is we meet once a week, we call it free time, but we meet once a week to just offer support. Otherwise, people can come in 4 times a week to the classes and stuff and get support there. All right. Let me see if that. Let me see if this. Let me see if that's Dwayne. Dwayne. All right, because he's always got some good information. So mindset and personal growth. I always book time to learn. I'm always setting boundaries. I'm always guarding my energy. I'm always reflecting monthly what's working, what's not. You got to revisit what's working and what isn't, because we want to do obviously more of what's working and less of what's not working. Okay. And then surround yourself with growth minded peers. Now, so that's the 8 pillars as it pertains to real estate. But I want to talk about surrounding yourself with growth minded peers. One of the biggest benefits of going to some of these conferences, the type of people that you meet when you're there. Now, I went to that Tony Robbins conference. I met some absolute amazing people, just amazing people. And it was one of the few places where everybody had a common interest and a common goal, and they just wanted to do better. That's it. They just wanted to do better. They just wanted to be better people. And it was so pleasant because you go into this environment, and we did this one was in Miami that I went to. This is probably 5-6 years ago. One of the events that I went to. And there was 13,000 people there, and it didn't matter where you were from. It didn't matter what you look like. It didn't matter how much money you made. It didn't matter what you drove. It was just people with, good character trying to improve. And there's nothing better than that. I've met hundreds of people at these things. And then we went to, I did another event. It was a life mastery in Fiji, and wealth mastery in Fiji also. Same thing. Now that's a little, it's a little more expensive. So not as many people there, but we had about 50, 60 people there. And it was just absolutely amazing. I'm telling you guys, you've got to focus on personal development. And you guys are right now. You guys that are in Clubhouse, you guys are in on TikTok right now, and Facebook and Instagram Live. You're doing personal development right now. So you have an understanding of how important it is. It doesn't cost you anything but time. So you're not spending time listening to me. You're investing the time in listening to me because you're going to learn something. You're getting a return on your investment. Right? But I'm telling you, look, if you ever have a chance to matter of fact, I think I may set something up with his organization and our and 4 Data Points Academy. Not official, but I'm talking about get a group of people to go attend some of his events. I'm telling you guys, if you are lacking in personal development, your business is going to be lacking too. All right. I'm ready to pivot. Let's get back into just real estate, right? This is Entrepreneur Wednesdays. So from now on, at least all through the summer, we are going to have Tuesdays for real estate, Wednesdays for entrepreneurship, Thursdays for real estate, Friday personal development. Personal development is I will be facilitating that conversation with a gentleman by the name of Dr. Alfred Smith because he has the credentials to be able to do it. And he helped me through some very, very dark places. And I've always wanted to build a program around him so he could, assist people the same way that he had, assisted me. That is called Ascend You. So you guys are going to hear these different things coming from 4 Data Points Academy. One is Venture You, which is going to be the business intelligence leg of what we do. And Ascend You is going to be the personal development leg of what we do. And folks, I'm the world's biggest skeptic. You can't, Jason, go ahead and write your questions, Jason, on TikTok. I'll tell you, look, it's part of can you please post that? And Nick, go to, we don't have, it's not ready yet. It's not ready yet if that's what you're asking me to post. But if you go to meetotis.com, that's my digital business card. All of our stuff is going to be on there. So meetotis, meetodis.com. You can see all my stuff on there. That's going to show up on there really, really soon. And I tell you, man, like real estate is not going to save you. And I think people look at real estate as if, yeah, you can make a lot of money. Yeah, it can improve your quality of life, but it's a means to an end, right? It's at the end of the day, it's a job to support what it is you actually want to do. Eventually, I'm not going to live in this country. You guys won't know that because I'll be back and forth. But It's the stress in this country. Once you understand how things work, you understand, how taxes work, and you understand all of the things, right? All the adulting things, you realize how bad you're being taken advantage of. And, I have the resources to be able to structure to where I can minimize my tax liability, but the average person doesn't. And it's almost criminal. And you start getting, it just starts to mess with you after a while. All right. So Jason says, do you think there's a tangible benefit above reading the person's entire book and taking their course? Is there a tangible benefit? I mean, information is information. Is if you're getting information that you didn't have before and it helps, I think that's the benefit. I don't think there's anything wrong with courses, folks. I don't do courses. But it's not because they're bad. It's because I'm trying to create real estate investors, and I know a course isn't enough to get somebody to the promised land. I'm trying to create seasoned real estate investors. So a course, if you, it's cool to, I've done courses too. I'm going to do some more courses. All right. Courses on other things that I'm interested in, or other aspects of business that I may be interested in. But information is information. And it's the one thing that no one can ever take that away from you. And when you have enough information, you need less resources. All right. Let me see. I've read founders books, but have not paid to attend those events. I mean, you get out what you put in. And that's a good question. Yeah, I have not paid for a cruise with Anthony Tony Robbins. Yeah, I don't know if they do cruises. If they do, I don't know about it. But look, it's your mind is the most valuable asset you have. So if you're prioritizing investing in a house, or investing in an apartment, or investing in a brick and mortar over your mind, then there's something fundamentally wrong with that. All right, something fundamentally wrong with that. So the information is, and I think that's one of the things that separate people that are really successful from people who just never get there. Look, everything between your two ears got you where you are right now. This is it, right? Everything between your ears got you to where you are right now. Even me, that thing between my two ears got me this far. Okay. Eventually, you have to go outside of that to get further. If that means reading a book, if that means going to a workshop, if that means whatever that means, right? The more you can develop that thing between your ears, the more powerful you are going to be. And look, that thing between your ears, it doesn't stay stagnant. It only gets better, or it only gets worse. If it's not getting better, it's only getting worse. All right. Jason says he likes remote learning better, read over 100 of the best business books and done the best programs. All right, cool. If your business name is on the deed, does that mean it has been recorded? Um, I mean, no, it has to physically be recorded. Somebody has to physically record it. So if you had a transaction, and that's why your business name is on the deed. If a property was deeded over to you and you had a closing office or title and escrow, they recorded it. That's part of the closing. So if you closed on a property, it's recorded, and if you close in your business name, it's going to be recorded. All right. Does that mean it has been recorded? Yes, absolutely. Okay. All right. Now let's get into 4 data points. All right. Look for the recorder stamp on the dot. Yeah, it should be. You should have a stamp on there from the clerk's office. All right. The reason I say that is there's sometimes I'll close on a transaction, but I won't record it because it'll interfere with the initial transaction. Let me elaborate on that because it's confusing. So if I'm doing seller financing and I'm buying a property and rehabbing it, but the lender won't let me get any outside financing, then I'll typically take a gift from the seller, but the seller's not going to give me that gift of equity without something in return. So what'll happen is I'll take the gift equity to satisfy my current lender, and then have the documentation for a seller carryback, which is a second mortgage, a seller financing component in favor of the seller. But I won't record it until I close on the first one, because the lender doesn't want me to get any other outside financing. Once we close on the first one, I can do whatever I want to do. then I'll go ahead and record it. So it doesn't have to have a stamp to be effective. So recording it gives the world what we call constructive notice to the world that you are now the owner, right? But legally, it still can hold up in court. It didn't have to be recorded. All right. Good question, though. All right. So yesterday we talked about 4 data points. Why is the 4 data points important? It's where everybody should start. And we beat this to death, right? And you guys feel free to ask questions about real estate or entrepreneurship. We're about to transition. I'm going to rock out for about 10, 15 more minutes. 4 data points. What does it cost? What does it cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? Okay. Every new investor has to be able to answer those 4 questions. If you're with me and you can't answer those 4 questions, then we are not moving forward. So if you are considering a subject property and you come to me and say, hey, what do you think of this deal? I'm going to ask you the 4 questions. What are the 4 data points? Data point number 1, what does it cost or what am I willing to pay? We don't start there. Data point number 2, what does it cost to fix up? We're not contractors. We don't know. We don't start there. Data point number 3, what's it going to be worth when I'm done? We start there. That's our after repair value. I got to know how much money I can make. If I'm trying to figure out how much I'm going to pay for a property, well, what do you think is going to be the driving factor in what I'm willing to pay for a property? What it's going to be worth when I'm done. So after repair value, and then data point number 4, how much income can it generate? I need to know if I can keep it or sell it, right? When we talk about exiting a property is selling it or keeping it, but bringing on some permanent financing. What's up, Joan? Bringing on some permanent financing. Okay. So I'm going to examine these 4 data points so we can talk through what they show us. So I'm going to write down the number 1, 2, 3, 4. Right on top of each other. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, next line 2, next line 3, next line 4. And we're going to use the $30,000 house because it's just the easiest. It requires the least amount of math. All right. What does it cost? $30,000, right? There's still some $30,000 houses out there, folks. Right? What does it cost to fix up? Another $30,000. And we're going to assume that it's in a neighborhood where houses are selling for $100,000. And it rents out for $1,000 a month. Now, it's not just getting the answers, it's understanding what these answers tell us. And this would be a very basic transaction, but it still applies regardless of how much the property is worth, right? The numbers just change. Now, I'm reviewing these numbers. I see these 4 numbers, $30,000 for the purchase, $30,000 for the rehab. It's going to be worth $100,000. And if I keep it, I can rent it out for $1,000. I already know because I started with data point number 3, what's it going to be worth when I'm done? I already know that I can get a mortgage for a percentage of that amount. Now, anybody that's financed real estate, a lender will finance you a percentage of what the property's worth. Typically 80%. Are there programs that go above that? Yes, right? But typically it's going to be 80%. So I know that I can get a mortgage for 80% of that $100,000 that it's going to be worth. Okay? $80,000 is that mortgage amount. Let me write that off to the side. I'm going to write 80,000 MTG. That means if I keep the property, I put a tenant in there, I can refinance and get a mortgage of $80,000. Now I'm looking at the other numbers. Remember, it was 30 for the purchase, 30 for the rehab. I know I'm going to be all in $60,000. Now I'm not going to count points and fees or any of that. All right. But I know I'm all in $60,000. So I know, look, I may be able to keep this property because that $80,000 mortgage is going to pay off all the existing debt. Okay. That $80,000 mortgage is going to pay off all of the existing debt. Well, how much existing debt is there? 30 for the purchase, 30 for the rehab, 60 grand. What is 60,000 minus 80,000? Because it's a cash out refinance. That means I get to keep the difference. The difference is $20,000. So I already know that if I do a cash out refinance, after I make this property, after I buy it and rehab it, and make this property worth 100 grand, I know that I can make $20,000 tax free on that situation because a cash out refinance is not a taxable event, right? And I'm all in 60 on this property. Get a mortgage for 80, I'm all in 60, I keep the difference, cash out refinance. So I know I can make $20,000 tax free. I'm just talking through this. Now that $80,000 mortgage is going to cost me something per month. Depending on the interest rate, let's say it costs us $800 a month. Okay. Well, guess what? If it costs me $800 a month, I already know data point number 4 that it's going to make $1,000 a month. So that's $200 a month cash flow if I keep it. All right. Okay, that looks promising. Now, folks, $200 a month is not going to change anybody's quality of life, right? One water heater that goes down, you're in the negative for the year, right? But that's what it is, $200 a month. Now, we look at everything. So it's not a matter of, is $200 a month worth it for me to do this deal, right? I made $20,000 tax-free. So shoot, if I can break even, maybe I can use that $20,000 for something else. Or I can put that into another small deal, right? And the deal should get progressively larger, right? Okay, I may be able to do something with that, right? Maybe I'll put in an offer on this property. Let me see. Jason says, with that big promise, I always think, does it mean your life or mine? So I don't promise that. Jason, you be all over the place with these questions. I appreciate you though, brother. All right. So what does it cost? 30 grand? What does it cost to fix up another 30 grand? That means I'm all in 60. I'm all in 60, but I can make the property worth 100,000 that I can get an 80% mortgage for. 80% of 100,000 is 80,000 minus the 60 I'm all in. I can pocket 20,000 tax-free minus points and fees, of course. That final mortgage is going to cost me $800 a month, depending on the interest rate. I already looked at data point number 4 and saw that I can make $1,000 a month. I'm going to cash flow $200 a month. The 4 data points doesn't tell you whether it's a good or bad deal. It just shows you what the deal is. You determine whether that's good for you or bad for you. Some investors will say, look, $200 a month, that's not worth it for me. I'm not getting out of bed for $200 a month. Some investors will say, well, look, $20,000. Look, I'm just starting out. This is my first, second, or third deal. I'll take 20 grand tax free. All right. Maybe we'll put an offer in on this property. Now, let's examine each one. Data point number 4, how much income can it generate? Oh, by the way, this also tells me that if I just sell the property, then I can make 40 grand minus points and fees. Remember, I'm all in 60. It's going to be worth 100. Simple math. 60 minus 100, 40 grand minus points and fees. Okay. Now, it also tells me, hey, look, interest rates have gone up though, right? Interest rates have gone up. So at 3%, it may be one conversation. At 9%, it may be a different conversation. So let's say that $80,000 mortgage cost me $1,000 a month. It won't. That's a little high. But let's say the interest is higher. It costs me $1,000 a month. Well, we look at that same deal. Is getting that $20,000 on the cash out refinance worth it? I don't know, because you're going to be negative cash flow for a number of reasons, right? So yeah, what if your insurance premiums go up? Any vacancy loss? See, breaking even at $1,000, there's with zero cash flow, just so you can get the $20,000 that you got out of the deal. That's probably not going to be worth it, right? But what if you're in a financial hardship? What if you need that $20,000 just to survive, right? Look, folks, I've been there. Where I had to go do a deal that was going to break even, or even possibly, well, just like this. It's going to cost me $1,000 to own the property. I can only bring in $1,000 a month in rent. Folks, I'm a landlord. I know $1,000 a month in rent is not really breaking even on $1,000 obligation. I've managed 3,000 units at one time. I think I know what it is. Insurance premiums go up, I'm in the negative, right? Property tax reassessment, I'm in the negative. Water heater goes out, I'm in the negative. Vacancy loss, I'm in the negative. There's a bunch of different things can put me in the negative, all right? Hey, but look, I may have needed that 20 grand to go somewhere else to fund another project that I was going to be in a tough position on. Now, is it 20 grand? I probably wouldn't do it for that little if I'm not, cash flowing. But these 4 questions just tells you what the deal is. It just helps you make a decision. Doesn't tell you whether it's a good or bad deal, though I think we would agree that certain deals are bad all across the board. but this just tells you what it is. So now let's break down how to answer these 4 questions. Most of you guys have the 4 data points guide. If you need it, I'll go ahead and give it to you again. I'll send you the link. Data point number 4, what does it cost? I'm sorry. Data point number 4, I wrote that wrong. What does it make every month? What's the income? Easy. Put the address in Rentometer. Rentometer will give you a rental analysis, tell you what you can expect. It'll give you a median. It'll give you an average. It'll give you a high. It'll give you a low. I just say be conservative. Boom. It's data point number 4. Data point number 3. How do we figure out what it's going to be done? How do we figure out what our property is going to be worth when it's all said and done? We look at similar properties in the area that have sold recently in good shape. How you doing, Namita? In good shape. And we can assume ours will probably sell for that. Now, keep in mind, folks, it's not an exact science. You guys have heard me use this example before. I had a property appraised 7 days apart with no new transactions or no new information. There was a $40,000 swing. So it's not an exact science. When you're looking at comparables to see what your property is going to be worth, make sure you have enough comparables to support your argument. Otherwise, you just elevated your risk. Okay, so that's data point number 3. What's it going to be worth when we're done? We do a survey, a market comparison survey, see what some of the properties are selling for. Data point number 2, what does it cost to fix up? Rehab. We don't know. We ain't contractors. Some of you guys are pretty good, though. Some of my students are pretty good now, though. I can see the progression. They get pretty close. But if you don't know how to do a scope of work, it's easy. You just make 3 steps. The first step, you make as many observations as possible. The second step, you put it in a format, an itemized list. Just don't put price next to any line items. The third step, hand it to somebody that can give you pricing and bid you out. Period. Right? So there you go. Now we do a scan, right? We do that during the inspection period. We do a napkin, I call it a napkin scan, when we're just looking at pictures and kind of estimating what it is that this property is going to cost to fix up. For my students, I usually do that with them. I would never just leave them out there to figure that out on their own. That's one of our rules. No one's ever out there trying to figure out what to do next. All right. So once we do that, now we know what it's going to cost to fix up. What do you think about today's no-code technology for building anything? If you're talking about like the 3D printed concrete plans that are being done, it's not necessarily. I don't know enough about that because I don't know what you're, Namita. I don't know what you're referring to specifically, but no code is not going to fly. So there's got to be some protections in there somewhere. So once I understand specifically what you're referring to, I can go ahead and speak on it. But I don't know what no code technology is because the building department is not going to let that fly. So if you can get more specific, I'll go ahead and address that. And then once you understand what data point number 2, 3, and 4 are, now you can determine what you want to pay for it. Okay. Now for new people coming in, I have them start with the 70% rule. All right. 70% rule says this. 70% rule, and you guys on Clubhouse, you guys have heard me say this many times. You guys on TikTok, maybe not. And you guys on all the other platforms, maybe not. 70% rule, you can just Google it, folks. 70% rule says this. You take the ARV, after repair value, which is what a property is going to be worth when it's all said and done. You calculate 70% of that. Out of that 70% number, you subtract what it's going to cost to fix the property up. Whatever you have left, that's your maximum offer price. So let's look at it with the example that I just gave. 4 data points is this. Same one. What does it cost? 30 grand. What does it cost to fix up? Another 30 grand. What's it going to be worth when I'm done? $100,000. How much income can it generate? $1,000 a month. Let's apply the 70% rule. What's the after repair value? 100 grand. What's 70% of that? $70,000. What does it cost to fix up? Well, we already said 30. So I'm going to subtract 30 from the 70,000. Now I'm at 40,000. $40,000 is my maximum offer price. Just because something says it's a rule does not mean it's the 10 commandments. Does not mean it's ironclad. Utilize the 70% rule for residential flips. That's when it works best. Now, can you use it for multifamily commercial? Yes, you can, but I'm a long-term hold. Hold on, Tim. Go ahead and come on up, Tim. Hold on.
How are you?
What's up, Tim?
How are you, bro?
What's going on,
I'm
brother?
good.
Yes, sir. Hold on
Okay.
one second. Let me try to figure this out.
Yalla yalla.
All right, let's do. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun.
How much?
Yeah, hold on, brother. Hold on one second. Hold on one second.
Okay.
All right, hold on, Tim. I'm gonna bring some other folks up too. Just bear with me one second. All right. What's up, Danielle? Go ahead and come up, Danielle. I'm trying to let me get Danielle up here. What's up, Festus? I see you, brother. Kishi, come up here and ask some questions. All right.
Hey there, how you doing?
Hey, 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 hey. Was that
Come
me?
on now.
Is that me?
Was that me?
Uh oh.
Is that me?
I love hearing the sound of my voice.
We found out you have an inner Drake. You're channeling your inner Drake, huh?
That was Drake. I don't know where I got that from. I started doing that like 15 years ago. When Drake first came out, he had a mixtape or something like that. And that just stuck in my head every single. Go ahead, Danielle. How'd you know? Did you hear that before? Danielle was a Drake fan. All
I
right.
did. I think it's his song. I better find your love and I better find your heart. Yeah, I
Okay.
like that song.
Okay. All right. I'm about to go back and track that down. All right. So that's a 70% rule, folks. So you take 70% of what the property is going to be worth when you're done, ARV, back out the rehab costs, whatever you have left is your maximum offer price. That is not end all be all. For long-term hold, you're going to continue making profit over time. So 70% rule typically doesn't apply. For multifamily commercial, you're going to be making money over time, long term. 70% rule does not necessarily apply. So just keep that in mind, right? If you guys have a mentor, don't just automatically apply the 70% rule. Bring it to your mentor and talk through it. Sometimes I'll go over 70% if I'm going to make profit over time. So there's a few reasons why I'll go over 70%. So just keep that in mind. Anything in real estate investing where you see the word rule after it, replace the word rule with guideline. Okay. Now, um, another reason there's a lot of reasons that this 4 data points helps, right? It helps you, it removes the emotional component of what it is that we're trying to do. It helps you focus on what's important, and it's a learning tool. I know that if somebody can answer these 4 questions, they're going to uncover information about the deal they may not have known to ask about as a new investor. And that's important to me because when I'm teaching people how to invest, the first thing I teach is mitigate risk, protect yourself. I'm not impressed when you get your first deal. I don't care. I can throw a rock and get a deal. Doesn't mean the deal is going to be profitable and doesn't mean I'm going to be able to exit the way I would need to. All right. So 4 basic questions. Now, this is not all the due diligence you are going to do. These 4 questions just help you rule out deals. If I look at my inbox right now, I got 20 deals that have been sent to me. I guarantee you 19 of them are trash. Okay. So it's up to us to be able to navigate and underwrite these deals to make sure that they're going to be profitable. Now, understand there's going to be things beyond your control, right? There's things you got to understand like carrying cost, right? A lot of people make the mistake of running their numbers on these deals and not accounting for carrying costs. Time kills deals, folks. Time kills deals. So let's say, well, yeah, I won't get into that. All right. So that's the 4 data points. That's why we use it. That's why it's important. Now, once you get into the inspection period, 4 data points is done. You're already in. Now there's a certain level of due diligence that you have to do to make sure that it is a good deal, right? You want to do a home inspection, make sure you understand what you're getting. If you're a seasoned real estate investor, you can bypass the home inspection if you are physically on site and you've already made contact with the vendors that are going to be working on the property. Now, for me, I'll pay $500-600 for a home inspection. That's going to save me from having to. Is that Magic? What up, big dog? That's going to save me from having to fly across the country. I live in California. I live in the San Francisco Bay Area. Every deal I do is outside of California. All my long-term holds are outside of California. You would almost have to, you could give me a piece of property in California to manage. It's just too tenant friendly, right? California, Oregon, Washington, New Jersey, and New York. I will not be a landlord in those areas. All right. It's just too tenant friendly. All right. So we understand the purpose of the 4 data points. We understand it's not the end all be all. We understand the 70% rule. You guys that are entrepreneurs, today is Entrepreneur Wednesday, and we went through a lot of the entrepreneurial stuff outside of real estate. And then we tied those 8 pillars on the entrepreneur side to real estate. And if anybody is looking for that blueprint on the 8 pillars that every business owner should focus on, I'll go through them again. Market understanding, identify who you serve and what they truly need, right? Ask yourself, who's your customer? What problem are you solving? Offer creation, develop a clear offer. What are you selling? Why would someone choose you over anybody else? Have a sales system, have a repeatable sales process. How do you turn interest into paying customers, and what's your step-by-step sales flow? Marketing strategy, make sure you create awareness and attract your ideal clients, understanding everybody's not your client. We beat that to death. Where does your customer spend time? How do you consistently reach them? Then we get into operations and systems. That's really automation, standard operating procedures, design efficient systems that remove bottlenecks. So ask yourself, what tasks can be systematized or delegated? How do you track key performance numbers? We talked about KPIs. We got into financial clarity. Know your numbers to grow your numbers. What are your monthly expenses and income targets? How am I managing cash flow? Team and leadership. Even if you can't afford it, at least have your eyes set on building a team, right? Build support as you grow. You can't do it all. What roles do you need filled? And how will you lead a small team? And then we talked about mindset and personal growth. That's the biggest one for me. If you're not growing mentally, you're going to be dead in the water. All right. Your business can only grow as much as you do. What habits or beliefs do you need to strengthen? I'm going to go back to that, by the way. How am I protecting my energy and focus? That's a big one. The more you do and the more accessible the more accessible you make yourself, you'll see how much of a toll that takes on your energy. I promise, right? All that negativity, all of that, I'm telling you, the world is not what it used to be, folks. And now we're hyper exposed to it because of technology and all these different things. So you've got to make a concerted effort to preserve your energy. What habits and beliefs do I need to strengthen? Limiting beliefs is what I'm referring to. Okay. We all have limiting belief. We've all been conditioned at some point in time. The world tells us we're not good enough for whatever reason. We're too short. We're too tall. We're too skinny. We're too fat. We're too black. We're too white. All of these things, because everybody has something to sell us. Right. And the moment we all start thinking we're good enough is the moment we stop buying stuff to prove other people wrong. Right. And they don't want us to get there. Name those states again. Tenant friendly. So red states are landlord friendly. Blue states are tenant friendly. California, Washington, Oregon. What else? New York and New Jersey. All right. Yeah. Don't do it. Don't do it, folks. All right. And then we went over, what's up, Festus?
Hello, Otis. I'm good. How are you doing?
Good, man. Good to see you.
Thank you.
I ain't forgot about you, brother.
Oh, okay. So let me drop in here and give a shout out to you. I was at work, so.
Amen. I appreciate you. So we also got into the 4 data points, which is 4 questions that we ask ourselves at any time we're considering a subject property. I mean, specifically 1 to 4 units, residential. The multifamily commercial stuff, we still utilize those 4 data points, but it gets a little more complicated because those properties are valued based on the income that they generate and not based on what similar properties are selling for. So whereas 1 to 4 unit, we start with, okay, what's the property going to be worth when I'm done? When it comes to 5 units or above, we start with how much income can it generate? Because the income potential gives us the information we need to determine what the property is going to be worth when we're done. We actually look at it twice. We do an evaluation to see what we're going to offer. So we look at the current rents, and then we come up with our offer price based on the current rents. And then we look at potential rents, and that's going to be our after repair value when it's all said and done. And then in order to make a buying decision, we just need to see how much it's going to cost in rehab to get us there to see if it's worth it. Again, when we start underwriting these multifamily commercial deals, I am looking for, I'll do it for my students. like literally. There's no way they're going to be able to do that on their own. So I'll do it for them, with them, and we make that part of the learning process until they're comfortable enough to do it on their own. And then over time, conversations start to get shorter and shorter and shorter. Right? There's a whole due diligence process for multifamily commercial. And even if you guys aren't ready to start investing in apartment buildings, I'm gonna tell you right now, the road to wealth goes through multifamily commercial. The road to wealth goes through multifamily commercial. And I teach both. So, and people don't have to pay me for different. You pay once, you get it all. Okay. There's a reason we do that. And there's a reason we started including them both together. It's because some of my students were started accumulating a bunch of residential properties, and the headache and the systems that were required were far more to manage 20 separate homes with 20 water heaters and 20 lawns and 20 potential plumbing issues and 20 different insurance premiums and 20 different and 20 different and 20 different. It's a headache. You start to see where it bottlenecks, right? Eddie knows what I'm talking about. You start to see where it bottlenecks. Whereas if they had a 20 unit building, they can manage it 20% of the work, right? So it's my job to get somebody educated on the residential, because that's important. You got to know residential. And a lot of the things you learn on the residential side carry over into multifamily commercial, like the rehab process, communicating with vendors, getting permits, all of those things, right? So multifamily commercial is a natural progression. So even if you're not investing in multifamily commercial now, even if you don't even have your first house, if you haven't even gotten your first real estate deal, plan on going into investing in apartment buildings, and don't let limiting beliefs tell you that you can't. To me, it's you can acquire an apartment building with zero money up front, same way you can buy a house with zero money up front if you know how to pay out of your exit strategy. So learning how to pay out of your exit strategy on the 1 to 4 unit space, that concept can apply to apartment buildings also. All right. Put a 1 in the chat if you guys want me to get into the I'll just tell y'all. Let me see. It's 9 o'clock. Oh, we got to wrap up pretty soon. Let me do a quick room reset. If you guys want the guide that we went over today, go ahead and reach out to me. I will put it in the chat over on Clubhouse. You can just go to meetotis.com. Oh, meet O-D-I-S.
Hey, Otis, I also have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So when you were talking about having 20 different mortgages, insurance premiums, all of that, it's true. So can you do a 1031 exchange with, you have 20 single family properties, but can you do a 1031 exchange and get a like apartment building?
Yep.
Or does it have to be like you have to do 20 of those single family for 20 more single families? Like, can you explain that? 1031 exchange, something like that.
Yeah, you can do a 1031 exchange. Like kind means it has to be used for the same purpose. So as long as it's an investment property, you can 1031 exchange that into another investment property. Asset class doesn't matter. Now, you can't sell your personal residence and go buy and 1031 into an investment property, whether it's single family or multifamily commercial. So I just encourage people, if you start selling, make sure you're structured correctly and make sure you're reaping all the tax benefits, and understand that a 1031 exchange, the money has to go into an exchange. As soon as you sell that property and it goes into your account, it doesn't matter if you put it into another property the next day, you're going to get taxed. You're paying capital gains. So understand there's a process for a 1031 exchange, and you can't touch the money. You got 45 days to identify a new property, 180 days to close. I always say Google 1031 exchange for the IRS code to make sure nothing has changed. But that's the way I know it to be, and I don't recall any changes happening. All right. I think I'm going to tap out. I've been talking for 2 hours. I think I'm going to tap out. What y'all doing? Y'all want to come over? All y'all? Y'all want to come by the house? No? Okay. All right. What you got going on, Danielle? Where you from, Danielle? It's 7 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm originally from Florida, but I live here in Georgia, and I've always been interested in real estate investing. Of course, I'm a realtor. My interest into real estate, I was a wholesaler and I had my first deal, but I felt like there was so much I didn't know. So I got my license and launched my real estate career that way versus an investor. But I think I know enough now as a realtor with the information things that I've done to now go into the investing side of it. So that's why I'm very interested in the information that you give because I'm learning from you as well and confirming what I already know.
Amen. And look, you mentioned you were a wholesaler. I encourage all wholesalers to understand what the 4 data points are, because again, there's some hosts. Once you mess it up with me as a wholesaler, and you show me you don't know what you're doing, I'm not opening your emails anymore. I'm just not. I don't have the time. And if you can't answer those 4 questions, then now I'm going to verify those 4 questions anyway, right? What does it cost, or what am I willing to pay? What does it cost to fix up? What's it going to be worth when I'm done? How much income can it generate? But in my experience, wholesalers that are not investors are not equipped to give me all the information that I need for me to make a decision on a property. And you mess it up with me once, I just don't have, I'm really not going to mess with you. Right. Now, wholesalers sometimes have an estimate for the rehab. That's a good way to piss me off, by the way. I probably shouldn't have said it that way. A lot of wholesalers don't know how to estimate a rehab.
Okay.
And what they don't realize, it's not that I get pissed off because of how it impacts me. They're wholesaling to people that aren't as seasoned as I am. And if they have that information and they sell that deal to somebody and it's not correct, and somebody makes a decision based on that information, somebody that's not as savvy, then they could be hurt financially. And
Right.
so when I have, there are a few wholesalers I have relationships that are just starting out, so that I extend them some grace. And I'll reach back out a few times, and it's not just like if they mess it up, I'll never deal with them again, right? So I didn't mean to make it sound that way, but I will educate them on the information that I need as an investor. And if you give me a deal and it just has rehab $40,000, I need to see the scope of work, because what I come across is there are things not included in the scope of work that should be. And if I've got an earnest money deposit that I sent to the wholesaler, which I don't, because I always send it through escrow, we'll hold it in escrow. If I've got that earnest money deposit, you put my deposit at risk, because now I'm discovering information that you didn't include. So you got to be really, really careful. And I'm willing to train wholesalers, right? I'm like, look, I'll give you this 4 data points guide. Just do it. Just use the guide and do it. And the ones that do it, they improve, right? They start looking at deals differently, and it's free. And but I tell them, look, if you're going to be working with me, this is what I need from you. All right. And,
Okay, so we go to meetotis.com to get your 4 data points guide.
yeah, you can just text that number. If you guys text that number, you've got to tell me, you got to go to my website and text me how much I charge for mentorship. If you tell me how much I charge for mentorship, then I'll go ahead and send you the guide. So I at least know you looked at what it is that we do. Amen. Danielle, I'll just send it to you. You must be asking for everybody else, Danielle. I'll just send it to you.
Don't tell nobody now.
All right, folks. I think I'm gonna tap out. I'm tired of hearing myself talk. You ever get tired of hearing yourself talk? No, just me. All right. I'm gonna go work out. I'm gonna go. I don't know what I'm gonna do today. I think I'm gonna just relax. That being said, if any of my students are listening, we went over for class this evening. We are going over subject to financing. We tried to go over it yesterday with lease options and lease purchases, but we got really into the weeds. So we're going to do subject to financing tonight. And there's no class tomorrow for multifamily commercial, because lease options, lease purchase, and subject to can all be applied to multifamily commercial. So no multifamily class this evening. That being said, let me stop the live stream. You guys on Facebook and Instagram, I appreciate you joining in. Your time is the most valuable thing you have. I hope I was able to honor that by giving you something of value. Meetotis.com is my electronic business card. So I will end that stream for you all, and I will leave